All right. So, like I said, I want to do a quick demo here for you on what we're going to do now. So we've gone through the process, and again, some of you are still painting your colors, and that's just fine. The project is going to be due tomorrow. It's due on Thursday. And remember, whenever I say due, I mean scanned in, turned online, all that jazz, just to reiterate. But we've got our picture here. Now, you can see I went one color at a time. So I started off by doing all the blues and the blue dots. Then I let that dry. Then I went back, I did all the reds. In this case, all the reds except for this little chunk right here are all dots. And then I did a little bit of solid over here, kind of like a Mars planet looking thing. And then I did all of my yellow, and I don't even have any solid yellow, I just have yellow dots all over the place. And you can see where my red dots and my yellow dots kind of overlap. So I wanted kind of an orange color, but I wanted it to be a lighter orange. So that's why there's a white background with red dots and yellow dots. That gives it a light color. If I had any brown, which unfortunately I do not, I would actually mix and match all three colors, and that will give me kind of a brown. Now I could do, blue dots and yellow on a red background. I could do a blue background with red and yellow. I could do a yellow background with blue and red, or I could just do all three dots on a white background. That works fine too. But all three together will give you a brown color. So you can see what I have already. Now the good part is that my color is where it needs to be, and it's all dry, and it kind of gives me this weird braille kind of bumpy feel, which is kind of fun. But it doesn't look perfect, right? It's not finished by any means. And as I promised you before, you put that black paint on top, you hold it off till last, and that black is going to look perfect, I promise. So what we're going to do is this. Get your regular kind of paintbrush. If you want to go for an even smaller paintbrush, you're welcome to see if you can find one. But again, the same kind of paintbrush that you use to do your dots should be plenty fine for your face. I also have a pencil here and some kneaded eraser. Now, some people are a little more anal retentive, and they desperately want to get rid of some of this grid pattern. If you don't, please feel free to leave it and just paint over top of it. Even if it's a little bit visible, I promise when you put your black on, the contrast from the black ink, the black paint, is going to be so dark that your grid is going to basically fade away. But if you are very anal retentive, like I said, grab some eraser and kind of get rid of that, that grid there, and that'll take care of that, okay? If you're not, you may have to go through, especially with the blue, sometimes it can go on a little bit thick, and that's fine. If there's any part that you're looking at your picture and you're not quite sure where those dots went off to, again, for me, for example, this kind of wing of Galactus's helmet, if I look at my comic, there's some dots in here, and I kind of lost them. I just don't know where they are. So I'm going to take my time, and I'm actually going to sit here, again, going off my grid, and I'm going to redraw right over top where those dots and everything go, okay? So I'll go through and do all that. And what that's going to do is allow me to visibly see very easily and very clearly where the black is going to go. The last thing that you want to do is, while you're putting your ink on, while you're putting your black paint on, to be kind of guessing. Because that black is going to go on thick, it's going to go on bold, and it's going to stay permanent. It is not going to change. When you put that on, not painting over it. You know what I mean? So you kind of get your black in there, and then you start applying the black. And you don't want to be sitting here being like, is there a line here? Oh, crap, it's over. Do it in pencil first. I promise. Do it in pencil first. You're going to be better off. Now, because we're working with tempera, your black paint is going to be, you can kind of see it's very liquidy looking. I mean, I know it's black, but it's pretty smooth already. You can see it kind of running around there. So I want you to think about this more like ink, right? If you've ever worked with ink or you've used an ink pen and it's exploded on you or something, ink itself is very runny. It's very watery. This is not going to be like an acrylic or an oil paint that's going to be much globbier and thicker. So we're not thinking about it that way. So what I want you to do, so you're going to get your black whenever you're ready, of course. Kind of load up your paintbrush. Get your black. You don't need a lot, something like that. Okay. And then what you're going to do is just basically start painting in anything that has pencil on it. So if, for example, in mine, I've got a lot of black in the background because he's in outer space. He's, a Galactus and Silver Surfer, so they're floating around here. And anything that has black, I'm going to go through and do. So, for example, I'm going to go over here to Silver Surfer. And I'll zoom in here real quick so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to start painting in basically wherever my pencil lines are. Now, if you mess up a little bit, I promise it's not the end of the world. Black is very permanent, but because it's very permanent, because it's very thick, take your time with it. Now you can hold the pencil, or excuse me, the paintbrush further back. You can kind of choke up on it like a pencil if you want to. Whatever you feel comfortable, that's what you need to do. Okay. So you kind of go through. Take your time. Take your time putting on the black. It'll go on very thick, and very smooth, so you really shouldn't have to fight it, but you take your time with it, okay? Load up the brush again. And again, you don't want it to be dripping. That's not good. But just enough. Pull it around a little bit to get nice little sharp angles. Notice that I'm taking my time with this. All the detail, all that hard work that you did with your drawing will be lost if you don't take your time. I'm going to put this black right over top of these halftone dots. Just like that, right over top. Okay? So I'm going to keep going through and doing this process, and it's going to take a little bit of time, I promise. You may need to take it home and work on it for homework and take some black paint home. That's fine. If so, just come at the end of the day and I'll give you some, okay? But if you don't get it perfect, like I said, don't stress it, but take your time with it. Try to get it as good as you can. This is definitely falls under the realm of good craftsmanship. You want your piece to be something you can be proud of, and at this point you guys have the skill level that you can do something very prideful worthy. I mean, you can do good stuff. Notice that as I'm starting to brush a little bit, I'm starting to get less and less paint on my paintbrush. It's starting to kind of dry out a little bit. So again, feel free to load up that brush whenever you need to. And just go to town. Now, another good reason that we're using tempera is the fact that tempera dries very, very flat. So if for some reason I let this dry, right, and I come back to it tomorrow and I apply some black paint over here tomorrow, it's going to blend all together. It's going to go in very smoothly, very nicely. So you should be pretty good to go, okay? You're going to obviously repeat this process all over your entire picture until you've gone through and inked in essence, this black color all over your entire picture. And I absolutely positively promise you that when you're done putting on the black, it is going to pop. It's going to look crazy cool. The black brings everything together. Especially, word of warning, especially take your time with the letters. I know we write letters all the time. You guys write, notes and stuff in class every day, so you feel very confident writing out letters and words and font. But I promise you, using a paintbrush is a little bit different than using a pencil. So take your time. Take your time doing these letters, and really take your time doing any fine detail that you need to. Draw it on first, paint it on second, and that'll be it, okay? Are there any questions with ink? Like I said, with the black paint, it's pretty straightforward stuff. All of the paints are in the back there, all the colors. I would suggest that you only take one out at a time. There's no reason to take more than one because you're going to let it dry anyway, so there's no reason to take more than one paint at a time. I've told you guys that many, many times. Any other questions? Cool? All right, guys. That is going to be it. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll come around and help you out.